Welcome to Man Enough. I'm Justin Baldoni.
I'm Liz Plank.
I'm going to say my name after you tell me why you got them glasses on. I'm Jamie.
Liz Plank is wearing shades, like designer, like beautiful
Thank you.
designer shades. She's just like red carpet ready,
Thank
but like
you.
red carpet ready, but like out in the middle of the day, sun coming down and you got to wear shades ready.
Yes. I accidentally broke my contact lens, and so this is my coping mechanism. And I might get used to it, so be careful.
All right.
Be careful. I
This might be
pull
the new
a full
thing.
Anna Wintour and just wear them all the time.
Hey, I'm not mad at it.
Not mad. You look great, but I just miss seeing your eyes.
They're here.
Oh, there they
here.
are. That's right.
Yeah, they're here.
Hey, what are we doing here? What we got coming?
Yeah, Man Enough, if you are just tuning in for the first time, is a conversation rooted in my work in this book that came out called Man Enough, Undefining My Masculinity, and my personal journey as a man, and questioning all of the things, all of the traditional structures of masculinity that have hurt me and haven't served me and caused me to hurt people that I love, and realizing that there's a larger conversation here, that there's an intersection that masculinity meets, and I believe we have to do away in many ways with the way that we viewed masculinity and undefine it to make room for anybody who identifies as a man to be a man, so that we can be the best humans we can be and show up for the women in our lives, and create a safe space for all people. That means women, gender nonconforming, trans people. And so we're just having these pretty intense conversations here. It's not just like little light chit chat. Sometimes it is.
All right.
But we go deep.
So who we got coming?
Kier Gaines. Kier Gaines is a licensed therapist. I don't want to call him an influencer because he's so much more than that, but I'll be honest. If anybody should be called an influencer, it would be Kier Gaines. Because what he's doing is he's using influence, modeling healthy masculinity.
I love Kier Gaines. He's a big part of my feed and the happiness I get from my feed.
He is. He's happiness.
He is.
He's a bright light. It's a
Yeah.
good thing you got your shades on.
Oh,
There we go.
Good,
All right.
Good
We'll be
setup.
right back with the one and only Kier Gaines. This is Man Enough. This episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Athletic Greens. Now, in the hustle and bustle and craziness and madness of everyday life, I know I personally struggle with getting the proper nutrition to maintain my overall health, energy, and longevity. And one of those things is green. That is veggies and salads and all of that. Sometimes I just get carried away and I snack all day, and I don't get all the greens and the nutrients that I need, because in those greens are the nutrients from Mother Earth that heal us. And thanks to AG1 by Athletic Greens, they have simplified the path to better nutrition to get all of those amazing nutrients with one scoop. Just one tasty scoop of AG1 contains 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients, including a multivitamin, multimineral, a probiotic, and a greens superfood blend to help you fill that nutrition gap in your diet, support your energy and focus, and aid with gut health and digestion. And I can tell you that I actually take this. This is not just an ad read. I am taking it right now. And the best part, that not only is it good for you, but for every order of AG1, Athletic Greens donates to organizations that provide nutritious meals to children in need, including No Kid Hungry right here in the U.S. So, to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you an immune-supporting, free 1-year supply of vitamin D, very important vitamin D in the age of COVID, and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase if you visit athleticgreens.com/manenough today. Again, just visit athleticgreens.com/manenough today to take control of your health and give AG1 a try. Welcome back to the Man Enough podcast. I'm Justin Baldoni,
I'm Liz Plank.
I'm Jamie Heath.
and we have a very special man here with us today, Kier Gaines.
Yeah, man.
My
What's
man.
up, y'all?
What's up in person? I'm touching you. It's
I know,
awesome.
man. I'm here. I saw Justin. I was like, man, you're taller than I thought you'd be in real life. He's like, man, you're taller than I thought you'd be in real life. So I thought everybody in Hollywood was mad short. This guy, what are you, like,
Except this
6'1",
guy, he's-
6'2"?
He's got it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, which one?
I'm in between.
6'2"?
I'm 6.
He's
I'm like
omnipresent.
6'1" and change. I don't know.
So funny. The reason why I ask you is because so often us men, we want to be taller than we are. So it's like, yeah, 6'1", 6'2". I'll go, just let it be ambiguous and believe I'm 6'2",
Round up.
rather than round up.
Oh no, I'm always convinced that I'm shorter than I am. And when I'm around people who are shorter than me, they're all like, no, you're 6'3". I'm like, no, I'm not. You're just really not 5'9". I'm sorry, you're 5'8".
Well, let's do this. We want to learn a bit about you. So Liz is going to set us off.
Okay, and I'm reading with these are my reading glasses.
Oh, wait a second. Hold on. Wait. We didn't mention that.
I broke one of my contact lenses halfway through the other interview. I wasn't winking at you. I was trying to be able to not lose my vision. And so then I was like, screw it. I'll just take the other one out. And then I was walking around with my sunglasses and just instead keep them. And so now I'm this person.
Especially when it's down on your nose. You're like, it's like Audrey Hepburn meets Golden Girls.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Compliment of the century.
Before we move on, can I say one thing? So I follow Liz on IG, and she has this video where she's casually putting away dishes in like a ballroom gown.
Oh my God.
Wait, what?
I did.
It's like a really fancy dress, like this really nice dress, and she's just like putting away dishes and just doing chores.
Unloading a dishwasher with my gown.
So I saw you unload a dishwasher in what looks like an amazing ballroom gown, and now you're wearing very fancy sunglasses. Like it just
you didn't think this is my vibe.
She does have the best wardrobe.
But I show up to set
Inarguably.
looking like I rolled out of bed.
no one believes that.
You rolling out of bed is most of us going to the Golden Globes.
No one
All
believes that.
Let's read.
Let's hear about who you are.
Yeah.
Love it. Kier, you should be here every time. They never compliment me like this. So, Kier Gaines, you are a licensed therapist, a popular personality focused on Black families, on fatherhood and mental health. You have been touching the hearts and minds of America. You've touched my heart as a person who follows you too. Anytime Kier Gaines pops up in my feed,
You always
my
watch
heart,
it.
Thank you.
It's incredible. You have been showcased and recognized by celebrities like Oprah, like Viola Davis.
Who's that?
You've been on Good Morning America, Today Show. You and your wife, Noemi, regularly create video content through your popular vlog. It's watched by millions of people. It's all about parenting, about marriage. You're part of the family. Like we talk about you
We
all
do a
the
lot.
time.
Yeah.
And you know what?
All
Let me
the
say
time.
this. First time I met you, I don't know, 6 months, 8 months ago, something like that on Zoom. We were all having a meeting. And in that Zoom, what I noticed most about you and why I remembered you the most was because your wife was right with you, and you didn't dim her light. You like it was like you just gave her all props. It wasn't like you gave it to her like it was yours to have to begin with. She just was so present, and you were comfortable in that. And I remember that about you. I appreciate that, man.
That's funny that stuck out to you. When she knew that I was talking to you guys, she was like, "Oh, is that rough?"
Oh God.
And then I was like, "Oh yeah, Justin, my wife's here." And he was like, "Oh, tell your wife I said hi." And like, it's a wall right here. You can see her head pop out. It's that. But yeah, my wife is amazing. If it wasn't for her, none of this would be possible. She's just been great. She's my co-business partner. I don't know if you have a co-business partner, but she's my business partner and my manager and my unofficial manager. And she keeps me organized, heart, mind, time, everything. So you can't dim that light if you wanted to, bruh. She's a big ball of everything. I just try to make sure I keep her, so she can be the most everything she could be.
Oh, I love that. We've talked on the show. I'll get to the first question in a second, but we've talked on the show a lot about how I believe that if you are a man who's truly confident, not the like false confidence, the
bravado,
the performative confidence, but if you're truly confident as a man, you want a strong, powerful, badass woman.
Absolutely.
You don't need to dim her light because her light reflects back to you. And that's definitely what I see with you and your wife.
That's what confidence is, though, bro. Confidence is understanding who you are and where you are in any situation. Confidence lives independent of what anybody else has going on. So when you're really confident, you don't see somebody with more power as a threat or someone who has a great power presence or a great power energy. You don't see that as a threat. You see that as an opportunity to learn or opportunity to be aided by somebody who has that power presence.
Exactly.
Yeah, nah, you right on that, though.
Do you think that you can be confident while also having moments of not feeling enough?
One of my favorite cinematic moments was the movie Selma, when the actor who was playing Martin Luther King had a weak moment. You know, he was having all of these great changes in ideology, and he was moving toward this big thing that he wanted to do. And you see him as such a confident presence, and he ain't having it in a moment. So he called Mahalia Jackson. And he was like, hey, I need you to sing to me. I need some confidence right now. And at that moment, I never saw a powerful man be vulnerable, ever. And I saw that, and I was like, man, even though it's a movie, those two things can exist at the same time. Those two competing principles can both live in the same apartment at the same time. So I think it's tough to be a person who's truly confident if you don't have those moments, because I hate to be cliche, but if you've never been in the valley, then you can't really appreciate how fresh the air is at the mountaintop, you know? So yeah, I think those two things almost have to exist in some way if you're human. I don't know how they don't intersect.
I love it so much. So tell me, when was the last time you didn't feel that you were enough?
Man, I would say right before my wife and I decided to have another baby. I didn't feel like I was enough because resources are great, you know, having money and having the things that you need to get the stuff you want is cool. But I'm a bandwidth kind of guy. And bandwidth doesn't care how much money you make. Bandwidth doesn't care how nice your car is. Your bandwidth is sometimes the same at $5 in your checking account as it is with $5 million in your checking account. And I was afraid, to be completely blunt, that I couldn't give my wife the marriage that she wanted with 2 children, because 1 is a lot, 2 is too many, right? And I'm entering this new career where I work on social media. It's not like I make a 9-to-5 paycheck every day. I don't always know what my money's going to look like. So to have the pressure of being the breadwinner, or to have the pressure of being someone who feels exclusively responsible for the monetary well-being of his family, to just smush that all into one, I didn't feel like I could get it done. I have no evidence to prove this, by the way. Complete distortion in my head. It don't exist anywhere outside my skull. I have evidence that says otherwise. But I still felt like I wasn't enough, and I couldn't really understand why. And it's fear, yo. Fear makes me feel like I'm not enough, even though I don't have any evidence to prove that that's right.
So what are you afraid of?
I'm afraid of, again, bandwidth, somehow taking on too much too fast and never reaching my full potential. And not really for the sake of me, but for the sake of people who hear words like you say on this podcast, and words like we share on our Instagrams, and people who could really use whatever the most elevated form of whatever I can offer is. Me never really reaching that point because I was afraid, or because I didn't have the bandwidth, or I took a small moment and catastrophized it and made it seem like it was my entire life. I'm not good at this, so I'm not good at anything. And just succumb into those thoughts that don't make sense. But we hold on to them like they're real and in living color. I think that's my biggest fear, man. To succumb to being that part of the human experience. Scary, man.
Talk a lot about that on this podcast, coming from, not making decisions based from a place of fear, but from a place of love, right?
Absolutely.
Your girl Oprah, that's her whole thing.
Yeah.
And the Baha'i faith, Abdu'l-Baha says that love never dwelleth in a heart possessed by fear.
You do so much work when it comes to fatherhood. And I want to talk about, your family and, that you have a much more egalitarian version of marriage than maybe your wife did. How do you manage to have an equal household in that way, an equal partnership with a woman?
Man, well, first, I think it's important to say that I grew up in a family where the women dominated. So it always goes back to your foundation. If we were sitting in a counseling session and you start telling me all these ideologies, all these ideas you have of women, I'm going to try to find the foundation. Where does that come from? What did the women in your life represent when you were very young and still forming an idea of what the world is supposed to look like? And in my family, the women they ran the family, they made all the decisions. You know, the men died mad young. You drink real hard. You spend a lot of money. You die young. That's just how it was. And the women were left to persevere and take care of the family. So when I think of women, I think of that strength and that leadership. And again, when it comes to strength, I don't mind sharing a stage. So it all kind of fell into place. I can't sit here and act like I read some book or came to some profound understanding. I think it was just a mix of understanding what the women in my life meant growing up. You know, these women who came from the South, no money, very little education, started working in the restaurants. Everybody lived in one house when they were migrating north. Like, that's what I think. So when my wife came along, of course I was an idiot and almost fumbled the bag several times.
Okay. Like what kind of mistakes did you make?
Be it when you're young and single, and you sometimes when you're seeing everybody, you can't see anybody. And DC, when you're young and single, is a place where like you can throw a rock and hit a neuroscientist who's an Instagram model who also has a PhD in rocket science. It's not hard. And I was just out living, and we met, and I didn't take it seriously. You know, it seemed like it was a fun thing in the moment. But after a while getting to know her, she started to, grow on me a lot as a person. And then I kind of saw these weird places where she fit into my life. And then these weird places where she added. And you know what I did? I said, no, I'm not ready for that. I'm not sure I want to do this all the way. And I was reluctant. I didn't lean into it.
Why? Because that's not unique to you.
No.
I even write about in my book how I staged one of the most elaborate proposals of all time.
Oh, I remember.
And then right before we got married, I started getting cold feet. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not a person that gets cold feet. What's happening to me? So why do you think it is that you didn't want it?
The bigness. It's big. It's huge. It's huge, and it doesn't really have a shape. For me, it's we're the examples. I didn't grow up really seeing a marriage that I thought I wanted to be a part of. That's cool for you, but that don't fit on me. I wear a medium. That's a small. You feel me? That doesn't fit on me the same way. So I didn't know what the possibility was. I didn't know what marriage could be. I just know what it's supposed to look like. And it doesn't look fun when you see, you got your wife telling you what to do and you got all these chores and you're losing all your money. If you listen to a lot of married men talk, it doesn't sound like a job that you want to apply for.
Can I tell you though, when you look at the data, marriage makes men so much happier, healthier. They have higher life satisfaction. Women are the ones who truly lose a lot of that, right?
Yeah.
And so it's so interesting to me when I see those T-shirts, game over, right?
Yeah, right.
And it's the wedding, and I'm like, for the woman, like
Listen,
game over. For the guy, he won the jackpot.
Ball and
yet-
chain.
and
That's
yet-
the ball
the
and chain
stereotype.
thing.
Yeah.
And even though that's true, because it is, that's not what we hear. Other friends, we hear, okay, this is not so great, or all that stuff. So now you anticipate that that's what your marriage could look like.
Exactly. And the part that we don't really talk about as much is that when you're a boy, sometimes you don't really grow up understanding boundaries. No one really fills you full of boundaries. And no one says, hey, young man, let me tell you what the benefits of marriage are. Let me tell you how to look for the right partner.
Yeah.
So did you how's your relationship with your daddy?
I don't have one. Yeah, I don't have one. It's a crazy story. I'll save you all. I met him on Facebook when I was 27 years old. He lives in Nigeria. Found him on Facebook randomly. I don't have any relationship with my father whatsoever.
I'm sorry how that may have been in your life. Is there an uncle?
Nah.
So you didn't have men.
I don't make sense. If you're trying to make sense, I don't make sense. My wife tells me all the time, I don't make sense. I can't think of a positive male influence. And I grew up in DC in a quadrant called Southeast. Bad, drugs, guns. You run the gambit. It's there, and it's there. It's there for you to grab, man. It looks so sexy because everybody's poor, and nobody has money, and nobody has, those things that you see that tell you that life is worth living or tell you that you made it. But these dudes do. They might not be doing the right thing, but when everybody around you is doing the wrong thing, what's the right thing anymore?
Wow.
So yeah, I don't.
So then what if you didn't have that male figure talking to you about things, about what it is to be a man, what it is to be a husband, how to just walk through the world. You obviously filled in the gaps yourself. and you had media filling in those gaps. And you turned out to be, amazing, all the work you're doing.
Oh, thank you, man.
But what would you say that was lacking in your life from not having that, and maybe and things you had to work on to be the man that you are?
It's hard to tell because this is the only reality that I know. So I can't tell you what it's like to have like a strong father present. It'll be the equivalent of someone asking me, man, like, do you miss that $1 million? It's like I've never grasped that kind of money, so I don't know. It's never been a presence. It's never even been a thought.
But has the way that you walk through life as a man, has it been destructive at times?
Yeah, it has. It has, and it took me a long time to see that. It wasn't so much destructive to other people, just a lack of self-exploration. A lack of overall awareness of what's going on back here and what's going on in here. It was destructive to me. And destruction isn't always doing drugs and drinking hard and partying, but sometimes destruction is allowing life to go on and not really hitting the record button. Like it's just happening to you, but you're not in the moment for any of it. You're not present for any of it. You're getting dragged around in the backseat of life. And that was destructive to me. I got years of my life I don't remember, man. Like some parts of my 20s I don't remember.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. I can't tell you what happened. Life was on. I wasn't pressing the record button.
I resonate with that a lot.
Yeah.
I resonate. It's almost like you weren't even in the driver's seat.
Why does it take for us to be in a setting like this to have conversations like that?
Oh, I'm sure Liz got some stats on that or anything.
I mean, you tell me, right? Like I write about this in the book. I'm like, I could be on a subway platform and a woman is next to me, and within 30 seconds, we're already talking about our deepest, secrets and breakup stories, right? Like there's all these TikTok trends about drunk girls in the bathroom, right? If you go to the girls' bathroom in a club, you're gonna bond with women, immediately. And with men, it's very different, right? The bonding and the intimacy. Like, what is that hurdle?
I think it's strongly culturalization. I look at men and women as two completely different cultures. Though even the way that we're brought up, my wife was talking about one time, I was telling my wife I was in an Uber, and I said I fell asleep. She was like, that's male privilege. I'm like, no, it's not. She's like, yes, it is. I was like, how is that male privilege? She was like, you fell asleep in the Uber. How was it? So I had an excellent nap. She said, I could never.
No.
And I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, I get it now.
Oh my God, can you imagine how many times a woman and the three of our lives have seen us go, oh.
Yes.
Oh, I get this obvious thing now.
And how many people and men never say, oh.
Yeah. Never.
And how
think of
frustrating,
That
that would
must
be.
be.
I think it's a cultural piece. Sometimes you can't beat what you don't see. We're coming off of the hills 2 generations back where I can't tell you my grandfather changed the diaper. I can't tell you my grandfather sat down and looked his wife in the eye and said, hey, what's going on? What's going on with you?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that. And just traditionally who men have been doesn't really work for the way that the culture is moving.
No.
The expectations are changing vastly.
And it seems like in your case and in the case of many men, you don't have a role model to emulate. You're becoming your own role model. Right? You had to become the man that you didn't have.
Especially if you want to find a male role model that kind of exudes all of these great principles that are expected of men in today's society. There's a certain sensitivity that you have to operate within now. There's certain language that you don't use because it's offensive, and you know that it's offensive, and you know that it's minimizing, or at least you're expected to know that it's offensive and know that it's minimizing. And men, we ain't no monolith, man. We fall all over the spectrum of understanding what happens to people who are outside the realm of our lived experience. You know? Issues hit harder when they affect you directly. You know?
So you got a kid?
I got
another one coming?
I got a kid and a possible.
How old is the one that you have now?
The oldest, Emery, is 4 years old. She just turned 4 a couple of days ago.
She's
You got a
so
girl
damn
for-
cute.
That's my boo, man. She sent me
Oh,
a
yeah.
message on the way. He think, Daddy, come home.
And then you got one coming.
I Got one coming, another girl.
So you being a man and
Wow.
father, you are teaching them. You are their first, or hers right now, but the next one coming. Their first introduction to men. Really how they will be treated by whoever. Friends.
Absolutely.
And since you didn't have an example of that from another man, how you do so well at that? You done some work, research, what?
Yeah, just I speak from the heart. You know, it's not just my male lived experience that I think will make me good in that department. It's me being a human and me understanding what the walk of life looks like for different people. So for my daughter, I don't know. This is me being the dad of toddlers. I'm sure it's going to change a million times over, but I know enough just from working in education to know that a child is not a cake. All right. You put sugar and flour and eggs, and if you do a certain thing to a cake, you'll get a certain result. You could put all the love and time and attention that you can into a child, but that child is a person who's going to grow their own way in their own direction, in addition to what you supply them in life sometimes. And I'm trying to remain non-naive about that. It's just being honest with her, having conversations like my mom had with me, impressing upon her the value of independence and being joyful and being happy and not just being wealthy and driven. You know, my wife is a Haitian immigrant. So it's when they came here, it's all about, hey, you got to do this. She's a lawyer because it's business, lawyer, doctor, business, lawyer,
Only option.
doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got interviewed one time. It's like, what's your greatest hope for your daughter? That she's happy wherever she lands. She's happy and she's safe wherever in life that she lands. And that's what I'll do. Just love, and I'm answering questions directly, and I'm apologizing when I'm wrong, and I'm modeling good love.
That's how you do it right there.
Yeah. You could tell somebody what to do a million times over, but when you model it and you show them not what to do right, but like how your interpretation of it, I think that's different.
I would say that my actions today are their memories tomorrow.
I like that.
And you know, when it comes down to fatherhood, I think that was one of the ways I was introduced to you, right? You had a video go viral where you were walking down the street. I feel like you were wearing a white tank top or something.
Nah, yo, shirtless, man.
You were shirtless. That's what it was.
Shirtless in South Carolina,
You
walking
were
down the
walking
street.
down the street, and you had your girl in your arms, and you were talking about the need for us men to deal with our trauma,
Yeah.
and how you're not ready to become a dad if you think you're ready to become a dad. This is what I took from it. And it hit me so hard because I never had anybody tell me that. Nobody told me right before I had a kid, like, hey, how have you suffered? What's happened in your life? Because you better fix some of this stuff now and go in, because you're going to pass that on. Nobody ever did that for me. And I just found it so incredible that you, with your cool factor, you know, being raised where you were raised, with who you are, were able to speak to guys just like you and have that go viral. And it just, I was so moved by it. It gave me so much hope. And that's why I was like, who is this man? He's our future. We need to be friends, number one. I want to learn from you. And my question is, like, what has that been like? What has the response been from men? Have you had men reach out to you when they saw that video and say, hey, you talked to me in a way, I get it now, or what should I do? Or I'm just curious, what was that response like?
The response has been nuts. I get messages from all over the world, people that don't look anything like me. It's not even just men. It's not just men.
Yeah.
It's not just Americans. I got a message from this guy in Botswana who was struggling with some issues, just trying to confront trauma from his past, but culturally that's not something that's accepted where he is. I get messages from guys who've been in prison for a long time, who are missing their kids, and who are really starting to think deeply about what their absence means. I have guys who are OG dads, man. I'm talking about they got kids my age. And that's probably the one that hits me the hardest when I see a guy who's 60 years old, has a grandchild, and he's like, somehow he figured out, IG. Now that's being ageist. He's 60. He probably knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah,
But
he's almost 60. So
Oh my God, he won't stop. That's not true, but go ahead.
listen, being almost 60 is a blessing.
It
man.
is a blessing,
It's
but
a blessing.
it's a
There we
blessing,
go.
Especially when you look good.
But
Yeah.
it's a blessing, but it's not a blessing if you're not.
Nah, that's facts. You can't be putting extra on there, man. Yeah, nah. That's terrible.
he's 51. It's not almost 60.
And you know the bad things. I believe you when I was like, really, man, he looks good.
My man.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm
You all right?
comfortable. I'm comfortable with where I'm at.
Drinking your water, putting on your moisturizer, that's a secret.
I don't drink enough water. My wife tells me that all the time.
Join the club, man. You see, I only took one sip since y'all gave me this, right?
But I got water in here.
Yeah. It's
But the messages from the grandfathers.
the
60-year-olds.
messages from the grandfathers, it's really heartwarming because it's like they hit the thank you. The biggest compliment I think anyone can give you if you speak from the heart is, I never thought about it that way before. That gets me every time.
Yeah.
Every time. Because I can't help but wonder what their children would gain from them having that mindset in the years of old. What if when back in the 1950s, he was able to have this understanding. Time doesn't work that way. That's not where we were as a human race.
Yeah.
But what he could have gave his child, and then what that child could have gave his child.
Yeah.
We think about these things with immediacy. Oh, these are my issues right now. And to your point earlier, if I don't solve these things, then they're going to continue to be an issue. But what we can't see is that powerful ink bleeds through a lot of pages, man. And I feel like trauma is really powerful ink. And you place it on that one page, and you don't think that you're doing anything to your children. You're being the best dad that you can be, but your trauma is your trauma, and it will manifest however it chooses to. And it could be in a way that robs your children of something. And when you don't have that experience, it's not a thing for you. Like my $1 million on me growing up with my dad. So then they just raise their children under those same principles. And then they raise their children. You do some things better, some things not as good, but it's a nasty funnel of emotional response.
I got 4 kids.
You got 4?
We got 4. Got a 31-year-old. Got a 18-year-old son.
Ooh.
Going off to college. And I got a 5 and 4-year-old.
Ooh.
And what I've learned, because I've been a father my whole life since I was 20. And then, she grew up, and then I got a boy, and then he grows up, and I got 2 more. Like my whole life, I've been learning how to be a father. I show up for my children. That's one thing I do. I've been in my daughter's life since the day she was born. She's my heart, so I know she loves me. And my son and the next ones. And yet still, I'm always mindful if I'm doing the right thing, if I'm showing them how to be. If it's the boys, how to be a man. If it's the women, how to choose a man or how to operate, how to be seen, how to have, or not have to fight for their place, but know that their place is just given to them.
For sure.
So yeah, I love what you're saying about, fatherhood and the work that you're doing, because it is so, we need to change. We're talking about masculinity on this show, right? And we're trying to reach people and have them look at themselves and see what are we doing that's contributing to the destruction of society, and what are we doing that's actually help elevating it. And the only way we can do that is to talk about it.
Agreed.
And to really reflect.
Agreed.
So part of the work you're doing is in fact doing that.
I just want people to feel comfortable with who they are as people. I want men to feel comfortable saying, hey, man, I'm a man. But the construct of what I've been taught a man is, it's not a whole construct. Actually, it's like one of those Hollywood movie sets where it looks like it's a house until you walk into it.
Yep.
And it's not a
Knock it
house.
right, right.
It's one-dimensional.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's very binary.
Yeah.
In the way that it functions. But it's also difficult in a world where everyone is learning psychological terms. We throw away, healing and toxic masculinity. We don't always know what those things mean. So sometimes we apply them when they're not applicable. And I think a lot of guys, and I'm just speaking for the people who talk to me, it's kind of hard to see the whole spectrum when your idea of manhood has been condensed into this one little ball your entire life. And now you're telling me that not only do I have to do the things I've been taught, that's the limit. That's all I have to do. I have to do more. I have to disrupt all these things that I learned were true. Well, that makes me feel bad about myself.
Well, on top of that, it's also not an easy thing to be a man. And I think that it's okay to say that because we are living in a patriarchal system that never leaves us satisfied, that never leaves us content, chasing a carrot that doesn't exist, always feeling like we're under attack or that our masculinity is being threatened and having to prove it every single day. We're not happy. So it's not even possible to be able to look at that and say, wait, you want me to do more, but I'm doing so much and my back is breaking. I'm working my ass off. I'm trying to provide. Wait, you told me I'm supposed to be a provider. Well, I'm providing so much I don't even get to see my kids. So now what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Right? And so there's so many men that are just like breaking.
Yeah,
in
what
the
more do you
system,
want from me?
and they don't have anything left to give. And these are the men that we want to reach out and say, hey, like this system isn't working for any of us. So it's not an attack on you, right? I loved when you said that we don't understand the full idea of what these words mean, the language that we use. Like to look at a man and say your masculinity is toxic without actually fully teaching him what that means is why I don't say the word toxic masculinity.
I thought it was the only one. I don't either. I don't use it.
There
I don't
we
use
go.
it that way. My man, I don't
Yeah.
use it that way because I think there's a difference. There's a contrast between being aware in a way that's productive and being aware in a way that leads to like self-deprecation.
Yeah.
And with men, it's tough because we are a part of the dominant power structure. This is the dominant power
We
structure.
are the down. Yeah,
This,
absolutely.
that's what it is. And no one accepts privilege like, okay, you know what? That's mine. You're right. Because it undermines the adversity that you've gone through as an individual sometimes. But it still exists. And I think in counseling sessions and in small conversations, I don't always believe, and maybe this is where I'm negative Nancy, right? I don't always believe that as a huge society we'll be able to make a shift unless there's blame and shame involved. Blame and shame is what coerces people to fall in line with societal expectations in a way that makes for quick change. But when you're blaming and shaming, there's no contextual understanding of why. So I'm doing something, I don't understand why.
It's not lasting. It can't last.
That's not sustainable long term at all. So as a society, I don't know how possible that big shift is because that's not just manhood isn't just what I am or what's below my belly button. Manhood is a way that I've grown to understand the world. And you can't just unravel that. Just because you understand a truth doesn't mean that someone else will understand that truth because you crash them into it at 120 miles per hour. They'll hear it, but they may not accept it. And that's almost the premise of counseling and psychology. So as individuals, when we put these little pieces and have these conversations and you see a dude like me who is, I'm not rah-rah or grandstanding on anything particularly. This is my experience. This is how I do it. How did you do it? What's your experience? Or you see a guy like Justin. I think it takes these little individual turns to make people go, huh,
I agree.
I never thought about it like that before.
And I'm curious what Liz, I want to say, make a quick
Your
statement,
moment of
and then
Liz.
I'm curious what you would say about this following statement real quick.
Yeah, I think that we deny manhood to marginalized communities, right? Like the way that you experience the uphill battle of like masculinity is completely different from a black man in America. And I, think back so much about the sanitary workers who were, during the civil rights era, protesting with signs that said, I am a man, right? I am a man. Because so much of slavery, institutionalized racism is stripping men away, black men away from accessing those roles of protector and provider. How can I provide if I don't have access to a job? If, all I can do is sell drugs or become a basketball player, which is what Mo, one of the men I interviewed for my book, told me. Like those were the only options. And then how do you protect your family if you don't have access, right? A white man who has been to prison has a higher likelihood of getting a job than a black man with who has never been in prison, right? Like of getting a call back from an employer. So is very unequal. And when I've talked to even Indigenous men for again my book, I was just so stunned by their awareness that like these are the ways that I can attain masculinity or manhood, but it's never going to be the same, right? And that being said, I think that you do such important work in just there's so many myths about Black fathers in America that persist, and there's this myth that Black fathers are just not around or less around than white fathers. And we know the CDC reports that Black fathers
Come through with the stats, Liz.
who live with their children are more likely than fathers of other races to provide physical care, bathe, diaper, feed for their young children, read to their children, and help their children with their homework.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that representation and that storytelling, right, that you do just by virtue of like taking a phone and filming yourself, right, is so crucial. And I was even doing some research. We were talking about fertility. For Black men, fertility is a huge issue because, as we know, it's very different growing up Black than white in America. Your access to healthy foods, your access to medical care, all the things. And so actually fertility is a huge issue for Black men. And I don't think I've ever seen that story. I've never seen, a Black man, a prominent Black man being able to talk about that. So I'm just curious what all of that means to you.
I don't think I have either, to be honest. Just specifically fertility, I don't know if I've had that conversation at length in my circles. I have one friend who has had struggles with fertility, and it's adversely affected his marriage, as you would expect it to in one way or another. But that's not even the only conversation. My wife and I were talking about, man, I reference her a lot. I must miss her a lot.
Good for you.
We were talking about even like sexuality. How that's not the conversation you hear at length. And not the act of having sex, but the sexuality as an entire concept.
Yeah.
And especially in the Black community, sometimes it's a very narrow tunnel for that conversation to go through. So when we talk about humans who I believe are in some ways preconditioned to be dissatisfied sometimes, we're talking about fertility, which is we're creatures of comfort. That's going to be an uncomfortable conversation because not all guys are also open to having those conversations. You got to read the room. Some rooms you walk into, I'm very fortunate to have friends like this. You walk into and we have a great conversation, man. And so you walk into the room and it's like, why are you talking about that? Nah, man, we're trying to have a good time. I'm not trying to hear that. So the breadth of conversation isn't always going to be wide within those groups all the time. But I think in small parts and in small groups that can't be recorded and can't be quantified at all, I do think those conversations do happen from time to time. But it has to be connected with someone you trust.
Yeah.
What do you think? We've been talking recently about safe spaces. And safe spaces for women, what that looks like, and safe spaces for men.
Women have been doing a great job of finding safe spaces for one another.
For women. But I don't think men do a good job finding safe spaces for each other. And I'm wondering what a safe space for men looks like for you to be able to reach out as a therapist, because you strike me as somebody in your friend group that people go to for help.
For sure.
But as a therapist, you can't just lean on your wife for help. So who do you go to, and how do you create those safe spaces in your own life for the listeners?
When I found out I was going to be a dad, I started leaning on my friend group hard. Majority of my male friends have had children already or had children on the way. And a safe space to me at that time was a place where I can go and say and express the unsavory parts of the way I feel about my experience, the things that people might have. When you're in a moment, you say things because emotion is raw and is visceral sometimes. And you can't say the same things on camera that you would say to a group of personal friends. And there needs to be a group of people who can take that and throw away the things that are just you being angry and speaking in a moment, but who can accept you, who know you as a person and can say, hey, this is in line with who you've been for the last 10 years, so this makes sense, or, bro, this is completely out of character. You need, to me, a safe space is a group of, a place where you're not going to be judged and where you can get some meaningful insight It's not just about venting and saying the things that are on your heart and mind. It's about gelling with a group of people and hearing some things that may be slightly uncomfortable, but you need to hear it. And it's coming from a place of love. No matter how hard it hits, it's coming from a place of love. Those factors together, safe space for me. And that may change for different people, but I feel like those ingredients translate.
Those are my favorite friends that do that.
Yeah.
Jamie does that. Jamie does that for me.
Yeah.
Jamie's always done that for me. He does that for a lot of people.
You're that guy in your friend circle?
I mean, we are that for each other in different ways. Can I go back to something real quick? Because there's something that rubs me funny, and I've been trying to figure out what it is. So, and you both agreed, you guys high-fived about it. This, not using the word toxic masculinity. I want to speak to that for a minute. Masculinity itself is not toxic. Just like this sword is not toxic. If I use a sword to hurt people, that's what we're saying. When we use masculinity to hurt people and oppress people. I feel like when we say that, it deflects. You're just deflecting. It's kind of like race. When someone says no racist people. Okay, that's true. Fine. There's only racist tendencies or things people do. These are all just terms to deflect. The truth is, masculinity, when used to oppress people, is toxic.
Yeah.
That's all it's saying.
Yeah.
But I hear in paper, toxic masculinity doesn't add up. I get that. But I feel like it gives people permission to hide behind having the conversation.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think that those two principles can both exist at the same time. I feel like it's a little bit of both. Whenever you have a term that encompasses a large group of people or a large community where folks from different walks of life assume membership, there's going to be, and especially because you can't even it's hard to have a conversation about masculinity outside of the framework of like patriarchy and misogyny. It's tough. It's tough. And the reason that I don't use toxic masculinity as often as a lot of other people is because that when you're having a general conversation, the nuance gets lost. And if I use the term toxic masculinity just to me being this individual speaks to millions of people every single week, if I use it and I don't add brilliant specificity, it'll be like, oh, well, he's saying that all of these things are toxic. And I think with any idea, it's easy for humans to broad brush or broad stroke. Or stroke with a broad brush. Liz, is that the term?
Yeah, that is. But don't we not do it with like we just call it white privilege and we're like, yeah, it's white, it's associated with whiteness.
We do that with everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
But don't you feel like, because I also don't use toxic masculinity. And I took it out of my book at the very last minute. And I think it turns off the people that.
By the way, I agree too. I agree
right?
that it's not.
But you have a point about the deflection piece, though.
That's the thing.
You have a point.
Yeah. Why are we coddling? Right. Like, and to me, it's to overcome this defensiveness, which
I have
occurs
a
in a lot of
different
these
stance.
Oh, okay.
Give it to me.
My stance is that I believe that it's become weaponized as a political term, and I cannot get on board with the identity politics of the current political structure and us weaponizing left versus right.
But so is feminism. Should we stop using feminism?
So
is critical race theory.
But I don't.
Exactly right.
But-
It sounds like a privileged white man deflection. What you mean? Toxic masculinity? Oh, we're saying you don't want to use something because of the way that it is politically?
No.
What does that mean? You're just talking to a dude across the street?
No, but I don't, because in the current culture we're living in, there's context collapse. And I don't believe that we will ever heal the divide by using language that people have been brainwashed to believe is on one side or the other.
I hear that point.
So I'm not going to, you can call it whatever you want.
I hear that.
My stance is I want to reach the guy who thinks that me saying that word is me identifying with the side that he's against.
Okay.
Because I believe he needs it the most. And I'm going to change my language to reach the heart.
I believe
That's my point.
That's the point.
And
I
so-
would just suggest when we say it, if we say it by itself without an explanation.
It's the context, right?
That's it, yeah. Otherwise, it sounds. But if you're like, hey guys, let's not use the word toxic masculinity because masculinity itself is not toxic. So I don't use that term.
Yeah,
but let's talk
but
about
everybody else
how
does.
toxic.
So
it
toxic
can-
masculinity is used and it's thrown around without context every single day, and it's often thrown around in a left versus right situation.
I just don't want your voice to be about defending a term.
My voice
versus about.
Well, no, I have my opening of my entire book is all about why I don't use the word toxic masculinity, because I want to call men in versus call men out. Tony Porter, A Call to Men, Ted Bunch. This is some of the work that they do.
I love Tony Porter, by the way. That's my guy.
He's the
That's
best.
my guy.
And the men that need it the most believe that when they hear the word toxic masculinity, it means that they, as a man, are bad.
I hear that.
And if they are bad, then we already know. We talked about with Joy DeGruy, self-worth
Yeah, I hear that.
and respect and value. And if they're already feeling they're bad and they're trying so hard, they'll never listen to what I have
And
to
that's
say.
what I appreciate about you is that you care about reaching people. So for that point, I hear it, and your point as well.
I also hear you, and I'm agreeing.
And yet,
I'm
there's
not
like
saying
this
it's
thing
not
I feel
toxic.
like, why does it feel like someone's
Yeah.
deflecting when they say that? So I
I
think
feel
I'm
the
just
same way.
trying to
Yeah.
address it like, oh yeah, that's true. You said it. Both things can be true. I think maybe we should just examine what that message could be sending as well.
And that's my point. That's why I don't use the term, is because I think I can do a better job. I'm on social media. I have a minute to explain very complex topics and concepts.
Yeah, right.
As soon as I use toxic masculinity, it changes the air in the room. But if I explain what it is without actually using the term, I'm giving you contextual understanding.
I hear that.
But does it come back to like grow that men need to grow thicker skin, like Andy's point? Like, come on. Like,
Sure, but then we're in an echo chamber, Liz.
okay, but we don't do that with anything else. Why isn't it further coddling men? And again, I'm saying this as a person who like doesn't use it either. But I think I'm more frustrated still because I can't use it. And because like
I hear that.
there are so many, and again, feminism feminazi, right? Like we have to put up with that. And I'm a little bit mad that we let, some minority sort of decide what it means.
I think what I hear you saying, well, we're saying a lot of the same things, all of us.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather, where I'm coming to, let's just not use it. Rather than making a point, we don't use it. Well, because that's what
now
sounds
we're- yeah.
deflecting.
It still has a purpose,
I don't even
though.
think he was making a point that he wasn't using it. And I, look,
No,
what I love about this is that we're all agreeing
Yes.
and disagreeing the same.
I'm loving the
good, it's
rabbit
good.
hole, but let's keep going.
Yeah.
yeah. No, but it's a good conversation.
It's just that there's certain landmines that you don't want to step in simply because it turned boom, you're turned off.
Yeah, that's well said.
And there's no, if that's it, if it's just about language and we can do an entire podcast like this and not say the word, and yet everything we're doing is talking about it and we're teaching and we're having somebody who's listening enter the conversation without their defenses up so that we can penetrate their hearts and maybe affect their behavior, then I am not going to be, my ego is not fragile enough where I need to say the word because for whatever reason.
Oh,
it
yeah,
needs to
yeah.
be
This is
said.
not a discussion about needing to say the word. This was only a discussion where I brought it up to begin with was, what is it about it
yeah.
that when I hear you guys say that makes me feel like it's a
It's
deflection?
the intersection of awareness and accountability. It's always a tough intersection. Awareness and accountability. At what point am I not making you aware of the situation, but I'm trying to hold you accountable to it? And at what point am I holding you so accountable to it that you can't be aware because you're too busy feeling defensive because you feel like you're being blamed? That's why this is such a complex topic. There's not one answer.
Which happens to probably you guys all the time when you're talking about race.
All the time.
All
I
the
feel like
time.
there are a lot of similarities, but you can't really throw that in because they're so sensitive. Also sexism. I feel like it's all related. Whenever you can't understand someone's lived experience, but there are terms that mean specific things that are not on the radar to one group and oppress another, you're always going to have conflict. Look at the country. Name one thing where that doesn't exist.
That's the point. That's where we're living. We're just getting farther and farther and farther apart.
We do that so much because when you say that with race, how many times I'm having a discussion with someone and we get caught up in the semantics of these words and these terms. So I do understand the reason to omit things so that the room in the air in the room is not shifted. But yet I'm tired. I don't want to have a conversation and worry while I'm talking to you about what's happening to me. And like I'm looking over my shoulder every minute and I got to dodge this and dodge this. And at the same time, I got to be mindful of these terms
Yeah.
so that it benefits you,
Yeah.
so that you don't feel defensive.
Yeah. It's like we're protecting
gotta
the
worry
wrong
about
person.
that.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where it feels. But I see the point. You know what I mean?
That argument just translates. You can put that same argument
everything.
on everything. I'm thinking of about 8 different hot button issues in this country right now with those exact words.
But we
apply.
do it a lot to people that are oppressed, to put that on the shoulder of people who are oppressed. So I understand in this case, as men, we are not the oppressed, and we're trying to be mindful of it. So I'm trying to reconcile this whole thing. There's certainly some personal stuff I got with it. That I appreciate the conversation with.
I got personal stuff with it too, man. I can't have a conversation about race at a certain point if we're not seeing eye to eye. I cut it. Like, hey, we spinning.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
My lived experience gives me a specific bias. Be it right, wrong, or indifferent, I have a bias because of my lived experience. Same thing with sexism. You know, same thing with anything.
All of it.
Same thing with anything. So you're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're not wrong at all. And I'm glad that you brought that up because that's the accountability piece. Like, hey, we always need a guy like this in the room to say, hey, I feel y'all, but let's make sure we're staying accountable and we're not minimizing some stuff that we're really mucking up. So you're not wrong. It's just 2 very complex ideologies that compete with one another.
Right.
Constantly bumping heads.
And if everybody had the ability to actually learn and get the correct information and the history of it and the full context of it, I don't think we'd have to be mindful in the same way that we're being mindful right now. Because with disinformation and with all the stuff people get and with hearsay and Facebook and context collapse, I just want to touch people's hearts. So everybody's right, I believe, at this table. I think we've reached our end point of this. Can I pivot real quick? Can we talk about therapy?
Let's do it, man. I enjoy that conversation. I never get to have those like that.
Mental health is so critical. There has been this myth forever, right? The greatest myth of masculinity is that we got to do it alone. Therefore, we can't ask for directions. We can't ask for help, right? All the tropes are tropes because they're true. And going to therapy is, in many ways, a violation of the man code because it would be assuming that we're not strong enough to handle it ourselves, that we can't figure it out ourselves, that we can't fix ourselves. So not only did you bust through those barriers, you decided to become a therapist.
Yeah.
Why?
Honest truth, man. I've always enjoyed helping people. I used to work in apartment leasing. I lived in DC and I was a leasing manager. So I would lease crazy expensive apartments to people. Like, that was my job. And I got fired one day because I didn't care anymore and it was obvious. And that's it. That's my last job I ever had when I don't help somebody. And after that, I became a personal trainer and I started working in education and I started working in the community, helping people get jobs. And I loved the way that felt. It felt like I was a part of something that was bigger than me. And I've always been really good at connecting with people. And this wasn't my idea. I worked in a school and a whole team of psychologists, all of them Black women. And they used to take these kids who had all of these barriers to education and give them this clinical support. And I saw the change in those kids. It's like, what do y'all do? And I sat with them and I learned from them. And when you're a therapist and you love the craft, dude, it's this vibe that you have. It's this vibe. And I caught the bug and I found a program that gave me 100% free ride.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't pay for my master's
But
at all.
had you ever been to therapy before you became a therapist?
Never. Nah. Never been to therapy. One of the therapists, I asked her, I was like, hey, do you go to therapy? And she was like, well, does a barber have a barber? And I was like, huh? Well said. I never did therapy before. So just seeing how it helped people, it already being in my wheelhouse, it seemed like something I could do for the rest of my life. And even if I didn't make that much money, I'd be happy. Those things pushed me to the field. And I didn't see anybody who looked like me doing it.
Beautiful.
So how important is, in your opinion, mental health, going to therapy for men?
Critical. My therapist is more like a co-pilot. And my therapist is actually a Black man. And I run a lot of things by him that don't make sense to me. And he doesn't change my idea. Me as a therapist, he does the same thing that I do. I don't tell people what to do. I don't even really give you advice. I just help you reframe. Yeah, I help you reframe. What your thoughts are, I hope you look at them in a way that's more conducive to the way that you move about life. And once I started once the threat of therapy went away, and it's not like I can't just do this by myself. It's not that. Like if I ran into $1 million tomorrow, I'll get an accountant. If I ran into some legal trouble tomorrow, I'd probably get a lawyer. you know, if I got gravely ill, I'd likely get a specialist in whatever is ailing me in the moment. A therapist is the same way. I can't figure everything out. I can't be omnipresent. I can't always see everything. And my therapist helps me with that. Or sometimes I see ghosts all the time. I see things that don't exist. I walk into the room, man, these people don't respect me. Of course they do. Why do you think that? I don't know. I don't know why I think that. Then let's explore that. Where does that thought come from? And then he helps me connect the stuff that I didn't even think was related. So all those together made it more of a personalized experience to me and not just an occurrence, like going to the doctor, answer these questions, pass you something. That's it. It's more of a personalized experience, and it feels like I have an advisor.
Why do you think we as men are so reluctant to see therapy as an advisor or a co-pilot? And how do we change? How do we push through the barrier? Like what? So maybe what I'm asking for is if there's a man listening, what do you want to tell the man who maybe hasn't gone to therapy yet? Of why it could be actually a beautiful thing for him. Why he's not broken.
The fear, you're not broken. You're not broken. You're always whole, no matter what happens to you in life. You're always a whole person. You may have broken pieces on the inside, but you're always a whole person. And I try to remind men that. It comes down to fear. It's the fear of the unknown. Therapy is also a lot of work. And it's a lot of opening doors that your mind has purposely kept shut. I don't want to know what's in that closet. Might be a mess, might be pristine. I don't want to know. That door's closed for a reason. I don't want to open it. And it's the fear of when I open it, what's going to fall out of there? What am I going to have to change that I'm not comfortable with? And I feel like it's representation. The only therapist I've really seen was Fraser Crane. I wouldn't want Fraser Crane to be my therapist. He's a little too stiff for me, you know?
Right.
Where's the representation that shows you that therapy is dope? When I walk in the therapist's office and it smells like sandalwood and my therapist looks like Justin and he greets me like, hey, what's up, man? And it's this non-formalized process. I think all those things have traditionally scared men. Also, a lot of the language in this world isn't very masculine. I've never said disturb my peace. I don't use those words. I don't say acknowledging my presence or like those buzzwords that have become popular in the counseling space don't really apply to the men that I know. We don't talk like that. Yeah. So it's also about where's the fit. I work on social media. All the little icons, they all look very feminine because that's a woman-dominated industry. It's hard for me to find a GIF that looks masculine. So when something has been one thing for a very long time and then it gets introduced to another group of people, sometimes the nomenclature doesn't fit. The language doesn't fit. Right. It's not built for them yet.
So how can we make therapy more fitting for men, right? Like I'd read some people were saying creating like packs, sort of like you would have like a 5-pack with a trainer, like 5 sessions for this amount of money, that like men, particularly with money, they're like, I don't want to do this and not know, like just be spending money every week. If I knew that with a 5-pack or a 10-pack or a 12-pack, I would get like this amount of time with my therapist for this amount of money, that would be more attractive to men.
That's low-key brilliant.
Right? Right?
That's brilliant. It's hard to see what happens in a therapy session if you're not in it. Who's ever really seen an actual therapy session? Even as a grad student, I haven't seen many therapy sessions.
Well, luckily, like Esther Perel's got her show.
Yeah.
Where should we begin? And there's little things like that coming out. But it's very unknown for most men.
Yeah.
And even when I watch shows like that, those don't look like my therapy sessions. I never had one that looked like that.
Can we pivot for a second? A couple questions.
Yeah.
You're wonderful. You're a good
thank you,
man, brother.
I'm really trying. I appreciate that.
And you started out talking about that you were raised by women. Oftentimes, men are lacking so much if they don't have a male role model, and I think we all do need that. But you are so spectacular because of the presence of women in your life. We know that women are needed in the world, fully at their full potential, championed in order for us to really get to the promised land. One of the things that causes this world to be unbalanced is the imbalance of equality of men and women and all genders. If we don't always include how we are being better towards women, what are we doing to help elevate them? How this relates to that in every aspect, not just to have this conversation of masculinity or whatever we call it. This boat is always floating a little crooked and always, at risk of going under. The only way we keep it balanced is if there's balance.
Yeah.
We got to be better for the sake of the whole, and that includes people who are oppressed. So I'm curious, sorry for the long statement, curious what you think you do to do that very thing I just spoke about.
Immediately in my family, I make, Liz said earlier, my relationship's a little bit more egalitarian. It's a clean slate. I don't walk into, I'm big on modeling. I don't walk into my relationship like, all right, I'm the man, so this how it's about to go. That's my partner. So I'm like, hey, what do you think we should do? Here's some ideas I have. What do you think? Oh, damn, that's a good idea. How about you take care of this and I take care of this because you better at that than I am. All right, cool, good. 1, 2, 3, break. All right, gender aside, we're two halves of a whole because what we're trying to build is bigger than gender. So the way we think has to transcend gender roles, traditional gender roles, and we don't really know where they come from.
Right.
They're not even useful sometimes, but we just subscribe to them because they're comfortable, and it's fun not to question stuff sometimes. In the world, just speaking up for women in places where they're not represented, not being performative, yeah, queen, but that's not support. Support is advocating for her in a space where she's being misrepresented, but she can't defend herself. Or if her voice isn't being heard in the room, like, oh, y'all, did anybody just hear what she just said? Can you please say that one more time so everyone can hear you? And elevating where the power is not equal. That to me is how you support and elevate women. It's not words. It's not cute T-shirts that say "Adjust your crown" and "Black girls rock" and women like those are dope.
This is what a feminist should look like.
Right. That's a dope showing of support. But as a man, I feel like there's more. Yeah. There's more, and it's more of a touch point that happens in real life and in real time.
Love that.
Less of a statement that you make with your mouth and more of a statement that you make with your actions, even when nobody's looking.
Especially when she's not in the room, which I love that you just said, right?
Yeah.
That so much of quote unquote allyship, whether you like that word or not, is within your own identity group. So if you're wearing this is what feminist t-shirt looks like with your girlfriend and you're, just doing it when she's around, you're actually, she's good.
Yeah.
She's good.
Right.
Go talk to your guy friends,
Nah, that's I believe in that, man. I do.
So let's move on to rapid fire questions.
Let's do it.
This means quick answers, quick questions.
All right, let's do it.
Welcome to this week's Man Enough Podcast Rapid Fire Questions.
So you have a question from the audience? From who? A fan?
Yeah, the audience.
From a fan. Code
his fan?
name Finlandia. Such good username ideas that I'm getting from our audience questions. So this user asks, who was a role model of healthy masculinity for you?
Oh, on TV?
Yeah.
Oh, Uncle Phil, man.
Uncle Phil!
Uncle Phil.
Oh my God.
Uncle Phil. Man,
fucking
Uncle Phil went hard. We can curse.
Sorry, Uncle Phil is one of my.
Yes, you can. You can curse.
We can curse.
Yeah, we can curse.
I'm just learning that. Yeah, Uncle Phil definitely. There's another dad who I really liked growing up. Carl Winslow was also a really good dad.
I love that you know.
I literally, that's how I learned English. I just watched these shows, and I love that the episode where Will Smith, in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, his father comes back, Lou.
Why he don't love me?
Lou,
man.
And then Uncle Phil shows up at the end, and they hug. Every time I see that scene,
that's real man shit right there. That's why Uncle Phil took care of his family. He was a judge, but he seemed down to earth. Yeah. He had the sunroof, so he was a real dad because the stress will take your hairline.
That's crazy.
He was present. He brought in a child who he did not create and loved him as though he was his. Yeah. Uncle Phil was just a model of masculinity.
That's right.
And he seemed like even more of a character because that wasn't represented the same way in my real life. Right. So Uncle Phil seemed larger than he was.
So your male influence came from TV.
Came from TV, man. Yeah.
Which, as wonderful as he was TV.
It was TV. That's still a fictional character.
That's
that
right.
wasn't James Avery. That was Uncle Phil. That was a script come to life through an actor.
Yeah.
That's not a real person. So it also comes with that awareness
Right.
that probably like performative manhood, it's built off of the things that we see that aren't even really real. Make you feel good,
That's right.
make you feel affirmed in the things that you would like to believe are true.
Yeah.
But not real life examples that are tangible.
When's the last time you cried?
2 weeks ago, thinking about the baby that's going to come. Happy tears. Yeah.
When was the last time you cried sad tears?
Man, I'm actually not comfortable talking about this, but I love y'all, so I'll do it. Maybe about 6 months ago, I got really sad. I lost my mom when I was 18, and I was thinking about it, and I just got really sad. Sometimes those valleys get real low. It's a moment, yeah.
Sorry.
How'd you pick yourself up?
It washes over me. There's nothing I can do to get out of that rut.
You allow yourself to feel?
Yeah. Just let it happen, man. Just let it happen. Let it wash over you, and then it goes, and then you're back to life.
Yeah.
But not fighting that. You said rapid, so I'm gonna stop talking.
Yeah.
3 words to describe your wife.
Bright, beautiful companion.
Beautiful.
What's the biggest misunderstanding about grief?
That it ends. It always exists in some capacity. Sometimes large, sometimes small.
Wow.
Grief does not end. Yeah.
You have a time machine. You're able to go back in time to 8, 9, 10-year-old Kier. What do you want to tell him?
Absolutely nothing. Life happens, yo. It happens. Everything falls. It's a series of doors that leads to the series of doors that leads to a series of doors. I love where I am. I don't love everything that happened to me
hold
on this journey.
Can
but
I ask you
love
something
where I
about
am.
that? You go back, because I'm not saying your answer's wrong.
Go ahead.
Just trying to understand. You go back to when you were 9 years old. You haven't learned anything along the way that you might want to prepare him for, or a pain that you experienced that you might say is, I don't know, something. There's it don't have to be wrong, just whatever.
No, because you can't brace for pain. I had a really close friend get stage 3 cancer. She was my age. And when she told me she had the cancer, I knew that she was going to die. And I prepared myself, man. I knew it was going to come. I kept telling myself. And when she died, guess what? That preparation ain't mean nothing. It didn't work. So there's nothing I could prepare myself for. I don't think so. And I think if I were...
I would challenge you on that, though. I think you did all that preparation. You still experienced grief, the pain, the stuff. Had you not done that work, it may have been twice as bad. It may have not been as connected. You may not have perspective the one that you had when you did experience it.
I'll accept that. I will say this. The preparation didn't chip away at that enough for it to be meaningful to me. It wasn't enough of a drop in what I think I would experience if I didn't prepare myself versus that for it to be worth preparing myself. And it proved to me that the preparation doesn't take away the sting of loss or the sting of grief.
Right.
And I don't think I could tell 10-year-old Kier anything that will prepare him for the crazy stuff because he'll spend the next 8-9 years trying to brace himself for it. And I know maybe I'm going too deep on the simple question.
No, it's all right.
But nothing, man. Everything in life happens. No regrets.
All right.
No regret. Nah, nothing. Let him live. Let him rock.
You got a time travel device, and now you can go to your future. You go to the end of your life, and you're a ghost at your funeral. You're watching. What do you hope your daughters say about you and the way you move through this world as their father, as a man?
That really easy. That they're proud. They're proud to be associated with me. None of this, all this stuff is great, but if those women in the future, women can't look and be like, man, that's my dad. That's what he did. Look. That's it, man. That's all I want.
Kier, what does it mean to be man enough?
What does it mean to be man enough? Being man enough is understanding where you are in your journey, not allowing angst to force you to make the future come faster, and not allowing guilt to leave you anchored to the past. I think most of being a good man is just being a good person. Real talk. So to me, that and treating people with kindness and dignity And one more thing, being man enough is learning how to wield power responsibly.
Yeah, I love that.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. That's
Well,
man enough to me.
My friend, you are man.
Hey! This is wonderful, man. Thank you.
Oh, it's been so awesome
Wonderful.
having you on, and I'm excited to spend some more time with you
Likewise,
without
man.
cameras and microphones.
I told you when we first met that your TED Talk changed the way that I view masculinity forever. Forever. You can't be what you don't see. I don't know if I move into this space with the same oomph if I don't hear that. I don't know if I do. I don't know I exist in this same capacity. So thank you, man. You never know. You kindle it, man. You never know what fire you can start.
And when this is off camera, we're gonna talk about this no regret thing. I got some thoughts about that.
Let's do it.
We'll be
Jamie analysis.
We'll be right back.
Our
This
show.
is Man Enough. Hello and welcome back to Man Enough. I'm Justin Baldoni,
I'm Liz Plank.
And I'm Jamie Heath.
and Liz, I gotta give you credit. You kept those shades on the entire conversation.
I don't think I'll ever take them off. I think this is my new look.
There's a few things that happened that she had your shades on. You had your shades on the whole
I did.
episode.
Yeah.
And that, I think, was the first time you and I had a little something.
A little bit of something.
Yeah, that's the first
Yeah,
time.
I
on
liked it.
Yeah, on all
I
of
enjoyed
our episodes thus far. Because you and I do that a lot out in the world.
In the world.
In the world,
Yeah.
I'm saying where we challenge one another and make me think and I make you think and all that stuff. That's the first time that there was a little bit of that on. So,
I liked it.
You know, I just think you wanted to do it for. I think you just wanted to do it for fun. I think you were just.
So see, when you say that then you saying my point was not valid.
No. I just think you were just waiting for a moment that you could come
I thought
after me
about it
on
all
camera.
night last night. When can I finally go at him?
You did, didn't you?
No, not at all. When Kier actually had said that he didn't use that term also, and when you say it sometimes, it's not that I ever disagree with you. That's
Yeah,
why
it's
I've never
funny,
said
you've never
anything
brought it
before.
up. Yeah,
no, it's
I've
because
noticed
I've just noticed. It's one of those things that when you say it, it's like, oh, I agree, but yet there's a little something that it's like, what is it about this that's conflicting for me?
Sure.
But I haven't had words to articulate it. And then when he shared it,
Yeah.
then it came together in my head.
And you know what's interesting to me is I also feel that thing.
Yeah.
I'm not acknowledging that I don't. Or that
I
thing
hear
isn't
you.
valid. I feel that thing too. And like you said, I think, Liz, it's freaking annoying. It's just annoying that we
Yeah.
but I've been doing this long enough that I understand and see the echo chamber. And change doesn't happen in an echo chamber.
You're right. You're right. I
So
just feel
it's
for
just a-
Liz. I think about Liz and women who are trying to get us to listen and hear them. And now I got a term. I can be like, don't that word, and that's a reason for me to not hear them.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to say, like, hey, guys, let's not get so caught up in that we don't hear them.
Yeah.
That's it.
But Kier Gaines was pretty freaking amazing.
Oh, dude,
Such
man.
a special person. Such
And
a
what he's
special man.
doing. And he speaks to his, inherently who he is in his spirit, because to not have a man in his life is generally not the way to bake a man.
Yeah.
We know we need men in our lives. So for him to turn out as he has and do what he's doing and to care so
phenomenal.
much is quite wonderful.
It just feels like he's got a special purpose here,
Agreed.
right? Like even that his wife tells him that he's a anomaly, a unicorn. Like that doesn't happen. He clearly is driven by something greater than himself, and he's wound up where he's supposed to be, and it's exciting to see. And I remember watching that video, as I'm sure you did, and feeling like, who is he? I'm drawn to him, and it's just so sweet that we've all been able to come together and have a
Leads
month.
with love.
How you feeling?
I feel good. I feel like he embodies the concept of mindful masculinity that I have in my head that's so hard for me to explain what it looks like.
Yeah.
Kier embodies it. Like he's so conscious.
Yeah.
You feel his consciousness when you're around him, and he's so present in his masculinity.
Is that the word that we should maybe start using a little bit more?
Well, that's-
What's that?
That's why I called my book what I called it. I wanted to frame it in a positive way. I didn't want to be like, I think to Jamie's point, I think we should speak less about the fact that we don't want to use toxic masculinity and just use other words.
Yeah.
Right. And so mindful masculinity was for me, like, I was like, okay, I can't just say what I'm against. I need to say what I'm for. And mindful masculinity to me felt like the best encapsulation of what I wanted.
It's a great one.
I love it. Conscious,
Yes.
aware,
Yes.
mindful,
Yeah.
awake.
Awake.
I think, yeah. Anyways, if you're enjoying this conversation, please like and subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and follow these two, Liz Plank and Jamie Heath. Buy Liz Plank's amazing book, For the Love of Men.
Yes, indeed.
And come back and hang out with us again, or just jump forward to the next episode,
Yeah.
or a previous
It'll be
one
good.
if you haven't heard it. Every episode's different. We appreciate you, and may you always remember that who you are, as you are, is enough. This is Man Enough.